Morgan Rielly officially appealing his suspension. The Leafs get set to play the Flyers tonight. Bedard's return could be on the horizon. And we had a GM firing around the league. Lots to get into on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Could use that tonight if you haven't, create an account at Gametime. Potentially go down to the Scotiabank tonight, watch that game between the Leafs and Flyers. We will tee it up in just one moment. There's also a lot of news to get to around the league as well. But I think we'll start with the update, I suppose, on Morgan Rielly's situation. Yesterday we had talked about, this was post-game Tuesday, technically. We had talked about how supposedly we were going to hear from Brad Treliving on Wednesday. That did not happen. Instead, the league, or Morgan Rielly, rather, on behalf of the NHLPA, decided that they're going to appeal the suspension. And so Treliving did not speak on the matter. And it sounds, though, Dave, that it's possible that, like, again, we had discussed this being a possibility, but it does sound like this appeal process may take longer than the 5 games to get an actual answer anyways.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we thought was going to be the case. I do think that with the appeal process, it's more so probably just if it does get reduced, he gets a game check or 2 back.
And that's really what it's all about. At this point, as a Leaf fan, it's unfortunate. Like, even if it gets reduced by a game or 2 max, you can't get those games back because Gary Bettman is going to have his hands full this weekend with the Stadium Series out in New York and New Jersey. And there's a lot going on at that event. It's an event that they have spent a lot of time and money on. And, he's not going to be able to, get this appeal process done in time. He's got other things to worry about, unfortunately, for the Maple Leafs. So by the time he hears it after the weekend, Rielly will either be, done 4 of the games. Maybe there's 1 game to go, but then by then he's got to appeal it and it's got to get reviewed by Gary Bettman. And like, this guy's a lawyer, man. He takes it seriously. There's money on the line. So it's not something that is just going to take an hour. So there's a good chance that, this case does not get resolved before the end of the 5 games. So expect Rielly to be out for 5 games, but should be ready to return for when the Maple Leafs do play that Vegas 3 times in a row there. It's going to be a difficult set of games, but Mo should be back for those matchups. So maybe gets a little bit more pocket change. I mean, I think it's unlikely that happens, though. When you look at the appeal process, rarely do you see Gary Bettman up, go against the Department of Player Safety. It would kind of undermine the Department of Player Safety. I know the Spezza one was an independent arbitrator, and that's why it got reduced by 2 games. But rarely do you see Gary Bettman go against George Parros.
Yeah, because then it undermines what George Parros' decision was, right? I'm sure Parros has also kind of spoken with the league before making a decision like this, right? So it's not like Bettman's just like, this guy went rogue. He went on his own and decided to make a statement. No, I'm pretty sure the league always has some sort of, I wouldn't say influence, but maybe there is a little more discussion that goes beyond the scenes in a decision like this. Now, like, they're not going to use, Parros is not going to go to Bettman with every single fine or suspension. But a big one, like a 5-game, I'm sure the league has a little bit of involvement.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Like I said, I wouldn't expect Bettman to hear the case even until after the weekend, and we probably won't even get a ruling until after the 5-game suspension is over and done with. So at best case scenario, Rielly gets a couple more bucks shoved back into his pocket. But outside of that, I don't think that he's going to get an answer before the 5 games are up. Which it's unfortunate for Toronto. But we got to live with it. And I think now we can just move on. To be honest with you, I think it's time to move on from this Morgan Rielly conversation. I don't know about you. It's stretched on way too long. And now I'm kind of done with having that discussion in the discourse. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can move on. There's a game tonight. We got to talk about it. And there's a lot more news around the NHL too. It's a busy Thursday in the league. 12 games on tap, including the Leafs and Flyers. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back. Let's tee up that game for you guys. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Our sponsor today is Camino Consulting. Welcome to the network, Camino Consulting. How would you like to get to know someone better in an hour than you would in a year? Understanding one another better prevents small misunderstandings from becoming big, ongoing fights. After providing more than 20 years of service to small and mid-sized businesses, helping management groups navigate conflict and onboarding new employees, Camino is offering a digital seminar for families and couples. Did your Valentine's gift of tickets to the game not go over as well as you'd hoped? Well, get the couples and family online seminar for 25% off for the month of February using the discount code Locked On. Again, that is discount code Locked On for 25% off the rest of the month at www.caminoconsulting.com, or mention Locked On when reaching out for a business seminar and receive the first 5 profiles free. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We're a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast with new episodes coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. If you haven't subscribed to us already and you're new to the podcast, welcome. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content so far. And hopefully if you continue to enjoy it, you do subscribe and become an everydayer. We love everyone who comes and joins us each and every day. And also a reminder that we do have a Discord that pops off on game days. I'm sure it'll be popping off tonight, just like the other day. We'll put the description, we'll put the link to the Discord down in the description below, either in the iTunes show notes or down on YouTube if you're watching down there. Leafs and Flyers tonight. Toronto hoping to replicate that performance against the St. Louis Blues. Looks like they'll be back at full strength to do so tonight, Dave. Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and William Nylander, all 3 back in practice this morning, skating. And Sheldon Keefe said the expectation is for all 3 of those guys to play. How much of an, is there pressure? Is there pressure on Mitch Marner and John Tavares to play simple, sound defensive hockey tonight, coming off of that team win against St. Louis without them on Tuesday? What do you think?
I mean, look, you want your best players to play. Your team is better when the best players are playing. I think, if they don't have a good effort tonight, it's going to be louder. That kind of discourse will be louder. But I just think you're a better team when you have your full complement, your full lineup there, right? And look, as Sheldon Keefe also said, St. Louis didn't exactly play their best, right? And I think maybe that played a factor into how things kind of went for the Leafs. So you can't just say that they can take what they did on Tuesday, do it against the Flyers tonight, and expect it to all kind of work out the same, right? Yeah. I think you have to be. You have to be careful on, making bold claims like that and saying, they're better off without Mitch Marner and John Tavares. Over the long run, I don't think so. Like if they were to go up against a team like Vegas without Marner and Tavares, I don't know if I can expect Bobby McMahon to have the same sort of production against Vegas than what he showed against St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's definitely this team is better off when these guys are in the lineup. I think there's no question about it. They got through one game without them, and that was great. They banded together as a team, and they won the game. But I think what you can expect maybe out of these guys, it's not necessarily that they're a better team without them, but like Marner and Tavares, just let's not don't make the mistakes that the team didn't make on Tuesday. Like they played a simple game. There wasn't those cute little backhand sauce passes that ended in turnovers. There was the drop pass in the neutral zone that ended in turnovers. That's the type of stuff that we've been seeing here from Mitch Marner a lot this season. Don't do it. Turn the puck, get it on your forehand, and just fire a pass tape to tape onto somebody's stick. That's simple. That's detailed, and that's what got you a win on Tuesday night. So I think that's more so what I'm looking for out of Marner and Tavares. Like, just play simple. Go back to your roots, right? Fundamental hockey. That's what I think is, works for. It works. It does, man. It's fundamentals for a reason. It works, and I'm hoping that we could see that tonight against the Flyers. But to your point, yes, I believe that the Flyers will definitely be more prepared than the St. Louis Blues were. I could have sworn I heard on Overdrive yesterday there may or may not have been a rookie party a day or two before the I heard that potentially there could have been a Super Bowl rookie party Sunday night, and maybe they were still feeling the after effects on the game Tuesday. So I don't expect for that to be the case. And the Blues, who I'm talking about, the Blues had a rookie party, not the Leafs. I'm expecting John Tortorella's Philadelphia Flyers to be a little bit more prepared for this game, and Toronto's got to match it, obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna say because they did play an afternoon game, so that does make a lot of sense. And if there's a coach that's going to make sure his team is up to snuff for a game like this, is John Tortorella. He's had some interesting comments, John Tortorella, lately about he was mentioning about the coaching carousel. I don't know if you saw that. He kind of says that it's easy to get rid of coaches nowadays. I thought, considering John Tortorella is literally the poster of coaching carousel in the NHL lately, I thought that to be an interesting comment.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now he's probably runner-up, I would say, for Coach of the Year, though. Like, I think he's doing a hell of a job with the Flyers. I mean, you come into the season and you've got the Flyers, and they got more points than the Leafs. They got more wins than the Leafs. What are they, 20, 29, 19, and 6, I think is their record right now for the Philadelphia Flyers. So, they're winning a lot of hockey games. And even after, they Carter Hart gone, he's clearly done with the Flyers. And this Samuel Ersson cat's kind of come in and played some really good hockey for him. And it's because they play a structured game. And it makes life easier on the goaltender that way. So Toronto's got to do a job to try and disrupt that, right? They got to get to the center of the ice. They got to fight in front of the net. They got to try and get bodies and traffic in front of Ersson and try and, score that way, right? Get some deflections, some rebounds, and, get some screens in front for some, point shots or seeing eye shots. So that's, one of the keys, I suppose, to victory tonight, I think, for the Maple Leafs is make sure that they make it difficult on the goaltender, because he still is young. He's playing well, but he's still young and has, fairly inexperience. It's his first time being, a full-time NHLer this year, and it's been thrusted into a starting job kind of unsuspectingly, obviously. So he's played well, but I think the Leafs, they can find a way to get to him tonight by kind of battling in front of the net, getting to those scoring areas and taking his eyes away from him.
Yeah, exactly. This is still, maybe a little bit of house money that the Flyers are playing with. They, there was a lot of talk that they were really high on, their goaltending tandem going into this year, right? They felt like they had a couple of decent options going into the year. And like for the Leafs, what I'm hoping for is they don't have another home letdown game, because on the road, this team is like, they got a great record on the road. At home, it hasn't been the case. So I'm hoping that, after what we've seen from the last couple of games at home, that this is more what we're coming to expect rather than what we had been seeing prior to the All-Star break.
Yeah, totally agree. And as noted before, Marner Tavares expected to be back. Looks like Alex Steves was not at practice today, and Ryan Reeves stayed out a little bit extra, so he may be up in the press box, which means Bobby McMahon looks like he earned himself another game. I think that's the right call after getting a hat trick the other night against St. Louis. Looks like Samsonov is going to get the start again tonight as well. Did you notice that the Flyers randomly named Sean Couturier the captain yesterday?
I was just like, the Flyers didn't have a captain?
Uh, yeah, that too. But also, why mid-season just randomly? You know what? Actually, you're ready. Like, it was almost like D3. Remember D3, Mighty Ducks, where it's like in the middle of the game, Buddy finally opens up to Charlie and he just slaps the C on his chest.
Well, he got,
He's like,
remember,
"This is your
Charlie got
team
it taken
now."
away from him.
Right, right. Yes, yes. So Couturier didn't get taken away from him, obviously. But yeah, then had a captain since they traded away Giroux. So I
I
guess
was trying to think, like, who was the prior captain? I'm like, oh yeah, Giroux.
Giroux. But Torts randomly, in the middle of the season on February 14th on Valentine's Day was just feeling a little lovey-dovey, I guess, and gave Couturier a nice little V-Tines gift and slapped the C on his chest. So he'll probably have a little bit more pep in his step tonight, playing in his first game with a C on his sweater, I would think.
I would hope so. It's a pretty big honor for him. And like, Sean Couturier has been through a lot too.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's a little bit of a nod to what he has gone through, both with his health and, the team going into a new kind of in a transition period here, like, in a way.
Maybe, yeah, like maybe they didn't give him the C at the beginning of the year because they weren't sure how he was going to respond. Like, remember, he missed like all of last season, basically. And, wasn't sure how he was going to play when he came back. But the fact that he's played well, the team's played well, and he's been an upstanding gentleman for that team. I guess they decided, you know what, let's just give him the C and not wait, I guess. But it was something random that popped, on my timeline yesterday, perusing X, and Sean Couturier and the new captain of the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm like, why'd they do that mid-season just randomly? All right, sure, whatever. But that's so tonight will be his first game, the Flyers' first game. So they're going to get their best. The Leafs are going to get the Flyers' best tonight. I think they'll be extra motivated because of that. On the Flyers side of things, looks like Rasmus Ristolainen not expected to play tonight. Neither is their rookie Tyson Forster, who's been a pretty solid player for the Flyers. So a couple injuries over there as well. Okay, let's take a break and come back. We've got a bunch of news to get to around the National Hockey League. Bedard's return could be imminent. And we had a GM fired this morning in the National Hockey League. We'll tell you who that is on at the other side. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry when buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, for all the sports, comedy, music, and theater events near you, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase, and they're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. With the Gametime guarantee, it means that you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same row or section for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti with you. We got the Leafs taking on the Philadelphia Flyers tonight down at Scotiabank Arena, 7 o'clock puck drop. We will be back tomorrow to recap the show. So make sure that you are subscribed to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms, but whether it's audio or on YouTube, to make sure that you get each and every episode that we do put out each weekday, Monday through Friday. Elsewhere around the NHL, though, a bunch of news happening. And I think the biggest news of the day, the Columbus Blue Jackets announcing that they've fired Jarmo Kekalainen, their general manager of the last 11 seasons, fired today. Columbus dead last in the Eastern Conference. Obviously not the season that they were hoping for. It all started so poorly with the Mike Babcock situation, fired before training camp even started, and the season just continued to go downward from there, and ultimately it cost Jarmo Kekalainen his job. What do you make of this news?
First off, I was surprised he's been there for 11 years. I thought it was less than that.
Well, he's been there for a while. I mean, it just goes to show how old we are now, Dave. Like, if you remember, he'd been at the job for quite some time before the Patrick Laine or before the Dubois, not trade, but he picked him at number 3. The consent, like I always remember, I was at the draft. The consensus was Jesse Puljujärvi was going to get drafted there at number 3.
The Finnish guy, right?
Yeah, the Finnish guy, Jarmo Kekalainen, going to take a Finn, Puljujärvi, and he said, no, actually, we're going to go with Pierre-Luc Dubois. And that kind of was a big eyebrow raiser at the time. Turned out to be the absolute correct decision in hindsight, obviously. But he had been at the job for a couple of years before that, and that was 2016, dude. So, yeah, it's been 11 years since he took on the job.
So, like, it's in that regard, it shouldn't be surprising then that he got fired. Like, to me, the way that Babcock was going, I was like, you know what? Like that whole management. I thought John Davidson still being there was kind of surprising, but at the same time, I think they're going to give him the opportunity to go and get that other general manager, and maybe he gracefully leaves.
Well, because Davidson, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't been there as long.
No, I think he joined. Because he left. He was let go by the Rangers and then went to Columbus.
So I think he's only been there a few years. So I'm not. So for them to give him a little bit more leeway and say, all right, now bringing your guy. So he had inherited Kekalainen, right?
2021 is when he joined. So he's
only been there a couple of years. So he inherited this mess, this team, and now. Obviously, he can pick his own guy. So I wasn't too surprised to see Davidson kept in the fold. Jarmo, a little bit more expecting, I suppose. Maybe I thought they would finish out the year, but I guess it makes sense. Why let Jarmo control another trade deadline if you're going to move on from him? So in that regard, it does make sense to move on from him today as opposed to wait till the end of the year.
Yeah, I just think that, and Davidson signed, I think, a 5-year deal when he joined. So Columbus, I don't think, is going to want to be paying out 2 guys out in that regard, paying for 2 more guys' contracts, and then have to bring in a new.
Are they still paying Babs?
It depends on. I don't remember if he stepped down or if I think he resigned, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, actually, I think he did. I think you're right. Yeah,
right. And so, like that, I think has an impact. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how. I think he resigned, and so because he resigned, probably there was some sort of like settlement of how that worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like Davidson's been around this for so long that I can kind of see why he's still sticking around for a bit. Like I think the ownership needs someone to guide them through this trade deadline. We're a few weeks away from it, so you need someone in that position. And so yeah. But I think the Blue Jackets are making the right call here. That's a team that's supposed to be on the up and up, and they're remaining in that same position again, right? They got some decent young talent there, but you look at the decisions that have been made the last few years. Like the Laine trade hasn't exactly worked out the way that they're expecting. I know Laine's away from the team right now, but when he was brought here, it hadn't really worked out well. The Gaudreau signing hasn't exactly yielded what I think they were expecting. So, yeah, and they made all those trades to add all those defensemen, right? Provorov, Severson, like they were aggressive. And the Merzlikins situation, how he wants out, but the team isn't exactly in a position to move him because he hasn't been playing well. Like it's a mess in Columbus right now.
Oh, 100%. It's well, you know what? It's not actually, I wouldn't say it's a mess. I think that you just look at how the season started, and I think they just couldn't recover. But going forward, I actually think this would be quite an attractive job for
Should be.
aspiring general managers. Like, there's some good pieces on this team. They're in a decent situation cap wise. Like, they don't have many atrocities on their books, and they've got some good young players, both up front and on the back end. And obviously, goaltending, they need to figure that out, and they'll probably move on from Merzlikins at some point. I think there's some interest in him. Maybe he gets dealt at the deadline, but I think that this is a squad going forward. If you don't mind living in Columbus, it's not the sexiest city to live in, but the organization, the team, it actually might be quite an attractive, GM job to when it comes to having a decent head start to a rebuild coming into a new situation. And I do want to go back and actually say, when I said Kekalainen is not Davidson's guy, I forgot Davidson was actually in Columbus prior to going to New York. So he may have brought Kekalainen in. He might have brought Kekalainen.
Now that you say it, because I remember he was there, left, and came back. Because I think he went to St. Louis.
He started there in 2012, which means he 11 years, 20. Yeah, Kekalainen would have been his guy, would have been his GM hire when he first became the president of St. Louis, of Columbus back in 2012, but then stepped down in 2019 to go and be the president for the New York Rangers, and then a couple of years ago left the Rangers to go back to Columbus and reunite with Jarmo. But doesn't matter. After 11 years as general manager, I think they won that one playoff series where they swept the Bolts, the Lightning. That was kind of the one playoff run that they had. Outside of that, there hasn't been too much success in Columbus, unfortunately. So I guess that kind of, is going to cost your job eventually. Which is interesting news, though, because 24 hours prior, they were just announced that they were going to be hosting an outdoor game. And now Jarmo will not be part of that whole shebang. Anyways, other news around the NHL. Looks like Connor Bedard's return could be imminent, could return tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm sure the league must love that this marquee matchup, Bedard versus Crosby, could in fact come to fruition tonight.
It'd be nice for the Chicago Blackhawks fans to actually watch their number one pick play. It was an unfortunate situation, right? Where, it was a tough hit. Didn't expect something like that to happen, right? And so, yeah, it'd be nice to have him back. We know that the league is better when their first overall pick is playing, and especially against Pittsburgh, he likes playing against Crosby. That was literally his first game in the NHL was against Sidney Crosby. So yeah, I know that they're just waiting to get a clearance from the doctor to make sure that yes, you can come back and you're not gonna break your jaw again. So yeah, it'd be nice to have Connor Bedard back, and it is interesting too because like with Chicago, they're not. I mean, we know they're not going anywhere, and I'm curious to see kind of how they want to approach the trade deadline and who exactly they're going to be trading out at this point.
I don't know if there's a whole lot, I guess, that really could get dealt out at this point. Like Connor Murphy, maybe they could try and move him, perhaps. I don't know. Philip Kurashev, do they want to try and move him? Does someone pony up, to make it worth it for Chicago to move on from him? Like, there's a couple of dudes, I suppose, that make a little bit of sense, But ultimately, I don't know if they have a lot of attractive options to really like sell off. I don't know. Seth Jones. Does Seth Jones kind
Not
of
with
does the
that
team
contract.
right? So they're in a weird spot with him, obviously. And then they just signed like a couple of guys like Mrazek to an extension, Dickinson to an extension. So you don't expect them to move on from those guys. And so there's not a lot. There's not a lot of dudes for them to really move on from and make a deal at the deadline. I'm not sure how active they're going to be from a seller's perspective. I'm sure that at this point they just want to get those young players that are in the lineup now an opportunity to play, like Bedard. Although Lucas Reichel, he's only 20 or 21 years old, but I think I saw he's expected to be a healthy scratch. And this is somebody who they were expecting to be on a line with Connor Bedard for
Yeah.
most of the season, and those two were going to kind of be the youth that takes this team going forward. I think last year had like 15 points in 23 games in the final 23 games. So there was high expectations for him. Has not turned out that way this season. And I believe I saw he was skating as an extra in practice. I don't know if he's actually going to get the healthy scratch or if he was injured or what the case was there. But yeah, it hasn't gone well for Reichel. That's something that they're going to want to try and correct going forward, I would imagine. The other little bit of piece of news this weekend, got the Stadium Series kicking off. You've got Philly, the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Devils all playing games. It's at MetLife, right? That's where it's being played, MetLife Stadium?
I believe that's where, well, especially for Jersey, I don't think there's another.
Well, I think they're all playing there. Like it's like the series, like all four of them, they're having a couple of games there. Should be a fun little weekend down
Yeah,
in
it's supposed to be like a
East
Central
Rutherford.
Park theme, is from what I heard. That's what the stadium's going to look like.
So Central Park theme in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Why not? Hey, you think they could actually set something up ever in Central Park?
I've never been to Central Park. I don't even know if
It's massive.
room.
It's massive, but
Well, they have
there's
events there, concerts and stuff, I think, no?
yeah, my concern is like, yeah, you couldn't really fit seating. Like, yeah, the seating would be the problem there. Like, you would have to legitimately build thousands of seats for people to
The NHL
watch.
is probably just like, well, instead of going to Central Park, we'll bring Central Park to East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably what they decide to do. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be a fun event. So that's going down this weekend. All right. That'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms, including up on YouTube. You can receive that daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Go ahead, leave a like if you enjoyed this video on YouTube. Leave us a comment down below as well. We'll be back with a new episode for you guys tomorrow. Leafs and Flyers tonight, 7 p.m. puck drop down at Scotiabank Arena. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.